This episode of DustemUp is brought to you by
Here we are in Mount Gambier, in a sinkhole. The Limestone Coast is where we're headed. Straight from here, follow the limestone.
I reckon, and this is what it's all about really, because this sinkhole is limestone everywhere. So there's tunnels all over the place, there's lakes, there's forests, there's sand. What else, Gleno?
Correct. Well, you've got your forestry tracks, so it's nice and like overgrown with trees, and then obviously you got the other end of it is the beach. There's heaps to do around here.
I'm looking forward to getting on the beach myself. I hear it's very soft though, so...
Very soft in areas.
We start this DustemUp adventure in the pretty town of Mount Gambier, near the border of South Australia and Victoria. We're going to take the coastal route to the mouth of the mighty Murray River. There's lots of beach driving and some of the most magical camp spots in all Australia. You're going to love this one.
Yeah, the sunken garden was pretty cool. I don't know how much of it was natural or had been planted there. Not sure what it would have been good to see what it looked like initially when it was first found, but yeah, they do a good job of looking after it.
Apparently it feeds the Blue Lakes. At this time of year, I think they're brown.
You know, when it comes to floral tributes, I'm not your man. It's not really my gig. You know, I don't usually hang out around flower shops or garden shops or anything, but that was impressive. And I think what would have made it even more impressive was the fact that 100 years ago, there's a guy floating his family around in a boat in the pond down the bottom, which would be a really good way to see that, as long as it didn't rain.
Interesting fact about Mount Gambier, which I wasn't aware of, is that it's actually built on top of an old volcano. Very interesting.
Okay, Dave from Off-Road Animal here. I was driving to Adelaide, thought I'd show off the product in Adelaide, and I heard that John was filming a new episode of DustemUp down in South Australia. So I thought, you know what, being a little bit of a Jeep nut that he is, might stop by.
It's so true, it's so true.
Stop by and say, hey John, say g'day. You know, it's been a while since we've caught up.
It has been, yeah, and man, I'm really impressed with the stuff you're doing. But hey, if you ever get the chance to drive a 5.7 litre Grand Cherokee and you don't take it, it's because you're down at the hospital or something, you know what I mean? Outside of Mount Gambier and all along the way to Adelaide are these fantastic state forests. We couldn't drive past this one. We had to go and have a look and a play. Geez, this Jeep is comfy compared to Milo.
Well, here we are, boys. Southwest of Mount Gambier, Mount Burr State Forest. It's a bit eerie. Looks like it's perfect grounds for a serial killer.
Good on you, Kenno. I'll tell you what, mate, there's 30 or 40 years in these trees. They're pretty big.
Yeah, I love the pine forest. Those pine needles, not only are they like a sponge, are great for camping on. I wouldn't mind setting up camp somewhere along here, and when you light a swag, it's pretty good. However, I got the rooftop tent, so I don't have to worry about that today.
Yeah, I think my little camp trailer van things are going to be a little bit more comfortable than pine needles, but yeah, they're good to start a fire, that's for sure.
There's no real traps to this, is there? I mean, you know, this is on limestone sand, on limestone layers. It's going to drain. We'll be lucky to find a puddle in here, a bit of clay.
Oh, I love pine forests. But interesting, just following you, John, it's like we're driving on a sponge. You know, the whole ground is moving under the weight of the tyres and bouncing back. I love pine forests, and Mount Burr lived up to expectations of pine forests for Gleno. So I love pine trees. I love the smell of pine when it's burning, and just being in a pine forest, it's really cool. The ground was really weird to drive on. I remember John driving just in front of me, and I could see the ground squashing and opening and closing. So I'm guessing it's the pine needles, must be layers of pine needles, and a bit of moisture on top of there, a bit sandy, loamy ground. It's just squishing like that. The 200 with the big Zone 18'6" on the back, you know, it's light compared to most caravans, but it was still heavy enough as an anchor for myself getting up that hill.
Mount Burr forestry was a lot of pine trees. It was good to go through there. Bit of different terrain. It's a very sandy ground rather than the red dirt that you get up my way. So that made it a bit more interesting. Gleno got stuck. I managed to plug my way through, which was good, but he's towing a lot more weight than I am.
Gleno getting stuck was just going to happen. The ground was so soft, but he knew that too, you know, but I don't think getting stuck or the potential to get stuck has ever stopped Glenn from doing anything. And he was keen to see how far he could go. He's learning that combination, that particular vehicle and that caravan, and that's the way you learn. You get stuck.
All right, Glenn, wind it in.
This is the thing about pine forest, any sort of big forest, there's no sun getting through to dry things out. So we've had a bit of rain here, we've got a covering of pine needles, we've got a soft sandy loam underneath. It's just all soaked it up, so it felt great until he got here, and then it just started to sink. A little bit of self-winching, 200 will be over the hill. What are you going to go to?
Mate, I think I'll go down to 18. I was
18?
probably a little bit lazy back there because
Oh,
knowing we're in soft conditions with a 3-ton caravan on the back.
Well, the 3-ton caravan possibly has something to do with it, mate, yes.
And 40 psi is not really good for off-road.
40 psi.
We might go down to 39 or something.
I think you're going to need it just for this next hill, Gleno.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get more and more of this, so
Yeah.
I'll let the tyres on the car and the caravan down.
Okay, on the caravan too.
Yeah, look, probably mid-20s on that, just so it rolls over the top a bit more instead of dragging through, as you know.
Yeah. Okay, well, I guess I better go and find another side deflator, eh? Is there something impressive about an artificial man-made forest? There sort of is, because it shows what we can do, other than just knock things down.
I really should have dropped the tyre pressures before coming into this forest, but she's good to go now.
Another sandy hill up here, boys. Gleno, you might need a bit of momentum this time, mate.
Mate, certainly check out whether letting the tyres down is going to work.
Let me know if you need a little bit of a push, mate.
Gets a bit sandy right up here at the crest. Kenno's carving his way through it though.
Plowing, they call it plowing.
I reckon you'll get this, Glenn. There's a bit of solid under there.
Yeah, he's got it, no worries.
Yeah, mate, those tyres down made a massive difference.
The Jeep just walked it in, didn't even bother it.
Now that was a fun couple of hours playing in Mount Burr. time to bug out of here and head towards the beach, I reckon. Let's see what we can't find. Oh well boys, that was a nice little play in the forest. How about we head to the beach?
Too cool. Beachport isn't too far away, and I reckon we'll be there soon enough to find a nice place to camp.
Yeah, that pine forest was beautiful and lush though, wasn't it? It'd be quite relaxing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool having the different terrains, you know, that awesome pine forest and the little bit of mud mixed with sand, and now we're going over to the beach. Can't beat Australia.
Dave, you said before this is the closest beach you can drive on from Melbourne, is that right?
Yeah, mate, unfortunately Victoria doesn't allow us to drive on the beach, so us Victorians have to travel all the way over here to South Australia to go on drive between Beachport and Burr.
Aha, well I know what I think of that.
Anyway, let's go get some sand between our toes.
Fairly amazing, isn't it, when you think about Beachport's link to World War II history. The fact that that's where the first two Australians in World War II died, and they died trying to disarm a German mine, which makes you think, what's a German mine doing in Beachport? You know, like it's got a long way to drift to get around to there, which tends to make you think, I wonder if there's any other mines out there. But Beachport, like the rest of South Australia, what a beautiful little place.
Yeah, the first night we stayed in a little camp spot at Beachport that had the beach on one side and the other side was a lake that was tidal, so it was salt water. We had a great little spot. You had to walk into it. I actually backed a little caravan into it, so I had a good spot to sleep.
Everybody in the team was together. It was a introduction night. Nestled in, it was like a little cove of trees. Obviously I was in the caravan, so I didn't have to worry about putting swag up. Great little spot, blowing down on the beach. Inside the camp area that we had, not a whisper of wind at all.
Well, here we go. It's the middle of winter and we're in South Australia and we're camped just near Beachport, and I can hear the surf, you know? Like we're in a little grove of trees just off a track. It's almost magical, it really is. And despite all that, I'm still going to cook dinner. So if you look over here, you know, you can see we've got Gleno, Kenno and Dave, and all these guys like lots of power, which means they like lots of meat too. So I'm going to cook the ultimate beef and bacon chili pie. Okay, here we go. It starts out with roughly a kilo of bacon. In she goes. I'm cooking it on the stove. I could just as easily do it on the fire, except I want to save the coals, because when you're cooking a pie, the whole crucial part is the last little bit with the coals. Rest of it, dead easy. In goes the bacon, and we'll just give it a little while to cook up. So what goes in next? In goes the pork mince on top of the bacon. Now, once that pork mince is in there, you can start adding the beef. Okay, in she goes. I'll give her a big stir. Kind of needs a big stir now because there's an awful lot of meat in there. All right, just leave it there for a minute because I want everything to cook up a little bit more. The whole trick to a pie is to have it cooked before you put it in the pastry. Come back in a minute. Okay, so we've got our beautiful meat pot going hard. Nothing else in there except meat and a little bit of curry. And you're right, it's time to add some vegetable. So we'll add some garlic. There we go. This is called Sweet Baby Ray's barbecue sauce. If you've got any sort of barbecue sauce about now, well worth it. Now we want something sweet in there, so we're going to give it a big daub of good old natural honey. Oyster sauce. Now oyster sauce is essential. Why is that? Because we need some salt in there. When you do meat, you need salt. This is called chili. How much, Gleno?
3 tablespoons.
3 tablespoons. All right. Stock cubes. They're a bit gooey. Look a little bit like wombat poo. This is cream of mushroom soup. 3 tablespoons of gravy. There we go. Now, Gravox also has a fairly high salt content. Give it a really good stir and then chuck it in the pot. There we go. In she goes, a good old swig of tawny port. And there's one more thing I'm going to add. Frozen peas. That's roughly half a bag. We will now stir this all up. This is looking really good. Hey, Kenno, come here, Kenno. Just taste that, that's just the sauce. Looking good?
Yeah, it's good.
Add anything?
Bit of chili, maybe a bit of black pepper.
Black pepper! You're the man, have we got some? Can you get some?
Yeah.
Okay, go hard, Kenno.
Look at those big chunks of meat, they look great.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Gee, you got a good action there, Kenno. Hey. I can tell. Thank you, chef. Now this is just about cooked, but because it's a pie filling, we want it nice and soft. So the lid's going to go on, and I'm just going to let it simmer for a while I get the rest of it ready. Come back in a couple of minutes. Normally, if you want a safe bet on a pie in a cast iron pot, you just put the pastry on the top. Put the fill in, put the pastry on the top, coals on the top, off you go. Kenno's got this magic pot with legs, and I've been busting to try this for a while. So we're going to line the whole thing with pastry. You should always have a few sheets handy. And one of the reasons you should have a few sheets handy is if you've got kids. You can entertain kids with pastry for hours. It's just so easy to do. When you use pastry, all you have to do is sort of pinch it together a little bit. So all I am doing literally is lining this pot with pastry. Now the whole trick here is to not spill too much. In she goes. Look at that. Righto. On top of that, we need to put some pastry. Just need a little bit of milk on the pastry. Well, we don't actually have a pastry brush, but we've got a paint brush. You don't mind if your pastry's a bit green, do you guys?
Cool.
Thank you, Kenno. Now the whole trick to getting this right, like any sort of cast iron cooking, is to get the heat right. And so Kenno's made me a fairly shallow set of coals for the bottom. Our mixture is already cooked, so we don't have to cook that through. See, that's sitting up on the legs. And then Kenno's going to give it about 250 degrees worth of coals on the lid, which will go down, cook down. Okay, here we go. Let's have a look at this. We'll just knock the top of it. 2 things I should point out. One is, if you're doing this with your thongs on, be very careful. And the other is, a couple of good belts should be enough to just clear the lifting edge. And look at that.
Oh yeah.
What a ripper.
That's browned off nice.
We got dinner. How good's that? Okay, man, it's been a long wait, but let's go. What's the name of it again?
Beachport Blurter Herder Pie.
Okay, it's called a meat pie. Let's go.
It was a fantastic meal, you know, 1,000 sauces and spices and everything that goes along with it.
The pie came out very nicely, and I think it's what we needed after a big day behind the wheel.
Yes, the Beachport Blurter Herder. It wasn't really, it wasn't a herder.
The next day, Glenn dropped his van off because he was a bit worried that he'd get stuck on the beach, which I reckon he would have.
We're going to go and have a bit of fun today on the beach. The beach down here is soft. We don't know what it's like because it's got seaweed on it. The sand goes over the top and covers it. If you're driving along, you just sink. We've done this before, so 3 ton ain't going to work on the beach. So she's staying here. Going to charge the batteries for the coffee machine. Take the 200 solo. Have some fun. I disconnected the caravan. Not quite sure. You know, a little bit tentative still. Learning the car and the caravan together. It's quite a lot of money to risk taking on a beach that you're not quite sure. Taking a big caravan like that on a beach without knowing the beach is a risk. So, but getting on the beach was fantastic. Kenno took obviously the smaller one. Beautiful down on that beach. Well guys, that was a great night. John, thanks for the blurter herder. That was a good meal, mate. Had a lot of fun last night. A great camping spot too. So let's go check out do some beach driving, eh? We'll get up here a bit further, see what it's like, and let some tyres down, mate.
Now, John, no launching the Jeep into air, mate. Let's keep all 4 on the ground, please.
Hey, listen, Dave, like I told you last night after you'd had a few of those VBs, I'll give you $1,700 for it, mate. It's not a problem.
I'll rethink that, and no.
Accepted last night.
That was the VB talking, and now in the light of day, it's new negotiations.
Well, all I can say is, you know, I was cold all night, the swag was a little bit wet, and here I am sitting in a heated seat with warm air blowing on my little tootsies. Has anyone got a can of green paint?
You could spray it in VB green.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. Not.
Well, after a little bit of rain last night, these tracks are nice and packed down.
They are, mate, nice and compacted. Bit up and downy though, anyone can get seasick along here.
Not me, mate. I'm in the Grand Cherokee and I'm just wafting along this track. The next day at Beachport, we went for a bit of a blast up 3 Mile Beach, and I had the Jeep, the 5.7 litre Jeep. So for me, it was a real blast. I was spending an awful lot of time dropping back and laying into it just because I could.
I'm hoping the sand's hard packed enough that that van doesn't get boggy down, but I'm sure you'll be fine there, mate, with a bit of right boot.
Yeah, mate. It'd be good to see what it's like. It was dry. It'd be a bit of a challenge, I reckon, Kenno.
Be fun on a motorbike.
Hey, you must have let your van tyres down too, eh, Kenno?
Certainly did, mate. I'd always drop them a couple of PSI less than the car.
Cool, yep, that makes a lot of sense. I can see the deflection from where I am because of all these bumps, and it's perfect.
Tyres down, it just rolls over the top of the sand where you keep them, if they, you know, on highway approaches, they just dig in and push through. They're like a big anchor.
Yeah, what they actually do is push the sand in front of the tyre of the trailer, and it acts like a chock. And then the wheels stop spinning completely, so you're just skull dragging it if you leave too much pressure in them.
I knew we were getting close to the open ocean and couldn't believe that Kenno hadn't mentioned the F word yet. Fishing.
I know what you mean about the seasickness. Look at these lumps.
Well, I can smell and feel water coming up soon.
Looks a bit softer too.
I guess at the end of the day, it was just so picturesque. So much of this coastline is really picturesque, you know. And it was no great surprise to come out onto the beach and see the Rangers there, 2 of them, sitting in a late model Toyota Ranger truck having their cup of tea. There you go. Everyone knows it's a good place to hang out.
Here we are just out of Beachport, and I thought, why not pull up and have a bit of a fish? We found a bit of a hole here. I was thinking there might be a bit of salmon around, so I'll chuck a silvery on, a radar, and see if I can rustle something up. Let's hope it's salmon for dinner.
Kenno went for a fish on the beach, and you know, a bit of moral support there, John and I.
So I'm going to throw this guy out. It's an 85 grammer, silvery. Just looks like a pilchard, really. Bait fish trying to get away from a pelagic. So it just flickers around in the water, and salmon usually can't resist them. So if they're there, I should be able to get one. Snapped him off.
Snapped the lure.
To be fishing in the middle of the day, into the surf, he had everything against him.
I flicked it and snapped it.
But I'll tell you what, when that lure went just whizzing off into the sea on the first cast, that was just the funniest thing, fair dinkum.
There's one good thing about Kenno trying to fish, mate.
What's that, mate?
You get to spend some time at the beach. That's about it. The sun's out.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Oh yeah, John and I, we washed him for a few minutes, and that's when he flicked the lure out and put a new one on, flicked it out again. It was just becoming typical Kenno fishing, wishing, I suppose you call it.
Well, I've seen Kenno fish in a lot of situations, and the fact is, as soon as you get the cameras rolling, it's going to go wrong and there'll be no fish. You know, it's just the way it is.
You know, give him all the moral support I can, but after a while it just wears you out. So that's when I went and had a snooze.
You got to give it to him. Now, he works hard, old Kenno. You know, he was casting and casting and casting. He must have cast, I don't know, 30 or 40 times. It looked to me like he was casting every couple of minutes. If there's an RPM for casting, Kenno wins. But one of these days, someone's going to tell him about bait, and then he might start catching some fish.
I like to have a fish. Unfortunately, on these sorts of trips, I don't get a major opportunity to fish. Well, it's not a fishing show, is it? So we don't spend our whole time fishing. We do get to some places that may be a little bit fishy, but no fish, nothing to write home about. Steak for tea that night. What do you do? Ah, well, no luck today. The boys have had a bit of lunch. Might be time to move on, but there's always tomorrow. Oh, this looks caravan friendly.
Well, of course.
As long as you keep that left wheel out of that hole, you should be right.
You might need to go left hand down, Kenno. You know what you're doing, look at that. Wow.
It's not jumping wheels or anything at the back, that bend, is it, John?
No, mate. No, it's just sitting there nice and friendly. It is on a stiff angle, but yeah, it's sitting there friendly.
Nice job, Kenno.
Yeah, that's fun. And we are exiting into like an open Junie looking thing.
Look at this for a playground in here.
Looks like it.
Well, this is cool.
Sure is.
You know what? All good things have got to come to an end, and it was time to get out of the Jeep and into my new old girl Milo too. I think if I spent too long in the comfort of that Jeep, I might get soft or something. We can't have that.
After we had a bit of a play on the beach, we decided to move on to a new camp spot. There was beach one side and a big dune, and then the campground. It was a big open green campground. It was lush and beautiful. There was plenty of space for us and our vans. It was comfortable. It was all flat. And when we rolled in, there was wombats just poking around the place. So we decided to call it the Wombat Reserve.
Wombats, where did they come from? I mean, there was wombats, at least 3 we saw that afternoon, and proof of them everywhere, you know, proof of their little square puddings.
The beach is probably only 100, 200 metres away over the hill. You can hear the waves crashing. We had a great big fire. I love my green campsites. The grass is beautiful. It's magic.
The next morning when I got out of bed, I was one of the first up, so I decided to cook a brekkie for the boys. So I'm going to do a brunch bake. I'm going to use the camp oven on the Weber, some chipolatas, some John Holmes sausages, bacon, a bit of pepperoni, salami stuff, some mushrooms, some sauces, a couple of toasted bread rolls, can't go wrong. Just a little bit of bacon because these guys like their pig. Bit of chili coated salami, very well cut, finely cut. They taste great, you can just eat them raw like that. Tastes a bit like a frankfurt. Now I'm just going to slice up my mushrooms. Very important when you're slicing mushrooms that you do it right. So there you go, that's sliced. See how good I am at it? Alrighty, now we've just got to wait for the pot to heat up. Got the snags going, the chipolatas. Now it's time to throw everything else in. Bacon, salami, we'll just whack that in there. All the good stuff. You hungry?
Small bacon.
There's bacon, there's all sorts. Hope you like meat.
Yeah, I do.
You got to give it to Kenno. You know, I don't know where he got his cooking tips from, but I love it. That brunch bake, chipolatas and garlic and, you know, pepperoni and enough temperature. It had some of that cock sauce in it.
Mix all that in. It's what you call a brekkie bake. That's pretty much done. We can whack the lid on that, just put it aside, and then we can toast some buns. So spray the top of the barbecue with a bit of oil and just place your buns on. That's toast.
Thank you.
Kenno is a good cook. I'm perfect for people like Kenno and John to cook because I love to eat.
Wow, it was fantastic. I mean, what a start to the day.
It was surprisingly good. I didn't have any complaints from the boys, and Gleno asked me the next morning if I'd kept any because he wanted some more, so that means it was okay.
Hey guys, that was one of the sweetest campsites ever, eh?
Green grass, loved it. Yeah, good fire last night, good feed. And what about brekkie?
Yeah, mate, I went for a walk over the dune this morning, had a look at the beach. It was just beautiful. What a spot. Recommend it to anyone. Anyone know where we're headed?
Yeah, mate, we're going into the little town of Robe, which is quite a nice little spot.
Got the courage up to take the van on the beach down at Robe, doing a little bit of research, knowing that the sand is harder there, it's packed, there's not as much weed there, so it's not that underhidden softness, I suppose you could call it, where you can get stuck. It felt great, let the tyres down, and we chuffed up the beach. Tide was coming in, so we didn't have a lot of time, but you know, that whole getting used to the car, caravan, power, traction, you know, certainly a great package, and I had a lot of fun on the beach with the van.
Well, I've got to say, this is as firm as it comes. It's beautiful.
So far, so good for the 200.
Well, Milo too isn't struggling wherever we go at the moment. She's just beautiful.
Water's looking nice. I actually might go for a swim.
I don't know whose idea it was to go for a swim. The sun was out, the water looked perfect, the waves were just doing a little curl, there's no wind. It looked absolutely magical. In we go, and out we came. That was possibly the best way on earth to wake up. That was awesome.
Yeah, that'll clear any hangover.
Well, wasn't that a mistake?
As soon as I heard the call, let's go for a swim, I walked down to the water just to feel the temperature. I got to my ankles and that was it. I went, no way am I getting in that water.
Refreshing. By the time I'd rinsed off, I felt like I'd lost about 30 years.
Yeah, it was time for Dave to leave. He had to get back to the office.
Well, you know what, guys? Some of us actually have to work for a living, so I've got to head back to Melbourne and start making some cool bars because, you know, we're getting lots of orders, a lot of interest in the bars, so unfortunately, I've got to head. But, Ruthie,
Yeah,
your meal, that pie,
yeah.
the blurred herder was great.
The bloater
Oh,
herder.
mate, that was good.
Good on you, Dave.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. It's a pleasure hanging out with you.
Yeah,
It
I had a lot of
really
fun.
is.
He's wild and fun as well.
Good on you,
Pleasure travelling with you, mate.
But Dave, you turn right here.
And we're going left.
We're going left back to the beach.
All right, enjoy the rest of your trip, boys.
Cheers,
Oh,
mate.
no.
I'm going to miss out.
Safe travel.
Get out of here. But it was time for us to move on as well. We had more beaches to drive and he had a lot of blacktop to get along.
42 mile crossing, right smack bang in the middle of the Coorong. That's where my Coorong experience came to fruit, if that makes sense, because there was no one there. And on one side you got a nice grassy little sort of campground with heaps of kangaroos, and then you've got the sandhills. And the sand is reasonably stiff, which is very different. It shows how protected, I guess, the country is. You get soft sand when you got lots of wind, stuff like that, but this sand was pretty good. Wasn't good enough for the big van, but Gleno somehow managed to make it work. Well, this is the track down to 42 mile crossing on the Coorong. Could be interesting. We could get onto the beach here.
Oh, this could be interesting. Get a try out this van on the beach, eh?
Maybe I should go down and have a look first, eh?
Mate, I'll give you a bit of distance.
Okay, I'll be back. When I drove ahead, I got down onto the beach and there wasn't a beach. It was gone.
Glenn and I had no choice but to turn around and try and get back up those dunes. Gleno struggled to get up the hill.
Heading out of there, obviously we turned around and I had two cracks at going up there. I was on 18 PSI. Obviously wasn't enough, so I reversed down. Pretty tough going, it's so bouncy, you can't get any speed. So I'm gonna go down to, I reckon I'm gonna go to 14 in the rear. I went to 12 on the front. I let the 4 car tyres down, the front's to 12, the rear's to 14, caravan to 16. I even let the air out of my airbags because there was lots of bumps there and the car was just jumping like this. So I was worried about snapping a front axle. That's where letting these tyres down was my only hope of getting out of there. Heading up there, bounce, 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 had to back off, but I thought I just locked it back into second gear low range. Feels better already. That feeling of the 200 just churning away, 4 wheels dragging 3 tonne behind me up this sandhill. I have not had that feeling before. This was impressive. I was just clawing away through. Ha ha ha! This feels unreal! And the thing was just tractoring up. 3-tonne of caravan behind me, and it's up this hill. That was really, really cool. To say I was excited is an understatement. Absolute, just loved the 200. She just did so good. That was when we became one.
That track was so bumpy, everything in my car got turned upside down and put back the right way up again. It's just like doom, 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 doom. And the ruts were like offset from each other. So you were bouncing on one side and then offset bouncing on the other side. So it was side to side, not just up and down. It was quite a rough track. I managed on my second attempt to get over it, but yeah, it was quite interesting, especially when towing. Yeah, I was driving along the road and I saw this sort of glimmer of red. And as I got closer, I saw a little thumb was hanging out. Turns out it was Pauline. Don't worry, love, we'll get you back to Queensland, safe and sound. Couldn't leave her on the side of the road, of course, you know. All types of people driving around the countryside. So I offered her a lift back to Ipswich with the promise of some fish and chips at the end of the road.
Sit back, relax. Leave it up to me, love.
On the last afternoon, we decided to head to the mouth of the mighty Murray River.
What are you taking us, Ken Dog?
Mate, I thought we'd do something different and go back to the beach. Go down to the mouth of the Murray River. I hear you can jump on the beach there and have a look at what it looks like at the mouth of the Murray. I've never been down there before, but apparently it's a bit soft.
Yeah, I heard it was a bit soft too. Maybe not the best for the van, Gleno, but your call.
What I'll do, fellas, you do the beach run, I'll do the tourist run, I'll do the tarmac, and see you back at the end of the beach, eh?
You gonna be okay by yourself?
Yeah, look, I'll be right.
All right, John, you heard him. Let's go have fun.
So we decided to finish the trip up at the mouth of the Murray. I'd never been there before. It was a bit of a beach run to get there. We thought it was going to be soft, so Gleno actually opted out and went the highway tourist drive. Didn't turn out to be soft at all. It was like a highway.
So here we go. John onto the beach, down to the mouth of the Murray.
You got it, mate. This is pretty special, isn't it? And Goolwa is such a beautiful town. The Murray River is such a vital component of Australia, it's not funny. It waters the entire riverina. At one stage it used to be the transport for all the wool and everything else. It opened up Australia as far as white exploration goes, and it's just such an incredible, beautiful thing.
I wonder what Gleno's up to.
He's probably done all the tourist stuff by now.
Yeah, caught up with the boys at the end. They came up the beach. I come down the tarmac. I walked down to meet them and see how they were.
Fellas,
Oh, hello.
Hey, Gleno!
this looks amazing.
It's not bad.
How'd you go?
Mate, I tell you what, I didn't get this. I wish I was with you.
How's the tarmac?
Well, it was pretty boring, guys, to tell you the truth.
So the Limestone Coast of South Australia, would I recommend it for a trip? Most definitely, family trip. You can hide behind the dunes in beautiful campgrounds where you just got a short stroll to a beautiful beach. There's plenty of room for the kids to run around on beautiful green grass. There's plenty of nature to look at. There's plenty of beaches to drive on. If you get the opportunity to come down and have a look between Mount Gambier and Adelaide, it's definitely worth it.
Well, this has been a fantastic trip. I love South Australia. Saw lots of places, fantastic campsites. I can't wait to bring my family down here.
When you look at the Coorong on a map or on a GPS or something, what you see is great big lakes, sea and land right over here. And it sort of looks like a piece of lace that's been stretched or something, you know? It's a little bit weird, but that's where the beauty of it comes in. Don't forget, kids, regular replacement of the tyre caps is an essential part of tyre maintenance.
They have an expiry date.
Hang on, you ready?
Got it.
You got it?
Steak knife through the hand.
Stir this all up. Oh dear, I lost a bit on my foot. This is why the handbrake won't let me cook at home, because the food goes everywhere. But let's go. What's the name of it again?
The blur to herder. Oh, sorry.
Beachport.
Beachport.
No,
Bridgeport.
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 Beachport blur to herder pie.
Okay, it's called a meat pie.
When I think about Mount Gambier, I think about nobody has a whippersnipper. The grass is nice and green and it grows over the curb. Last time I was here, the same thing. I come back this time, the councillor needs to get on to people to buy whippersnipper.
Ah, coffee. Woohoo! I'll just wind the window up now and enjoy the comfort of the heated seat. This is Jono playing with the radio. I've never been any good with radio, so people think I don't like talking to them. I just can't hear them.
The pine trees are just beautiful. The wind was just whistling through the top of them. It was just high pitched. If you get that, probably try that yourself.
Come and check out our episode 2. Come and check out episode 2 of DustemUp. If you love the beach and love the sand, you're gonna love that car or plane or whatever that is flying over.
Okay. Oops.
Nah, I don't know what the handbrake sees in me either.
Hello, Gleno.
It's like rock and roll, dude.
Spin right round, baby, right round, like a record, baby, right round, round, round. Gosh.
Yeah, send it to me.
Is it
Just
me?
call Do Not Answer at DustemUp.tv.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. Go, let's go, let's go.
What would you like to hear? No, I can't play that one.
What do you think of Pauline, Wolfie?
Oh, she's alright, mate. She's a redhead just like me.
Oh, yeah, you are both redheads.
Get out of it!
Look at the other one.